Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen, the channel that brings you your team every single day, guys. Remember, the only way to make sure you never miss out on the fantastic free content is to subscribe to the channel. Well, we're going to talk about a few different things this morning. We're going to talk about possible miracles happening at Rangers on the level of Moses parting the Red Sea, Black Sea, Green, whatever colour that sea was that he parted the sea, apparently. You know what? It's ages since I've been to church. I haven't got a clue, man. I haven't got a clue. I'll ask one of my kids later. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about Neil McCann as well, and rumours surrounding Neil McCann and Rangers. We're going to continue to look ahead, obviously, to the Hibs game on Saturday. Now, we've got a situation where the boys have been in training, have been working on fitness, working on a lot of, developing an understanding with their new head coach. A lot of people have asked, how will Philip Clement play? And I was listening to Club at 22 with Adam Thornton earlier. And, even Adam Thornton, who is a tactical genius in terms of, understanding how teams play and how teams line up, even he was saying that he was purely guessing at what Philip Clement might do. It's another brilliant podcast by the boys at Club at 22 anyway. So check it out. I'll drop a little link in the description for you to check out. But look, we go into this game on Saturday against Hibs, and I think for all of us, it's a new beginning. For all of us, it's interesting, isn't it, to know, first of all, what will the starting 11 look like? And number two is, how will we actually play? And what of Philip Clement's tactics will he have managed to get across in such a short period of time? I think that is obviously something we're going to have to wait to see, 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe, to actually see the real, genuine shape and style that Clement wants really pushed into this Rangers team. As and we all know that Michael Beale has done this team an awful lot of damage in terms of their confidence, in terms of their ability to play, in terms of tactics, in terms of identity. And what I find hilarious is the fact that he's now been linked with a Millwall job, which has come up down south because Gary Rowett's left. Millwall fans, and I know there's a few Rangers fans who support Millwall as well. Seriously, don't Millwall, whoever the chairman is now at Millwall, do not go for Michael Beale. Seriously, you'll find yourselves getting relegated rather than looking for playoffs. Now, one thing that Philip Clement talked about, didn't he, in that press conference, in his unveiling that James Bisgrove did, was he talked very much about the fact that everyone has a clean sheet of paper. I think it was kind of like a blank slate, isn't it? That it's a kind of lost in translation moment there. We all talk about that, don't we? When a new manager comes in, a new boss comes into a workplace, everybody kind of has a clean slate, don't they? We all start again. And, there's a lot of players in this squad who need that clean slate, who need that ability to start again, as they've, I think with the exception of Abdallah Sima and Jack Butland, none of them have really, especially the summer arrivals, have really impressed and gone out there and, put a hand up and said, look, yeah, I'm your man. In particular, obviously, the guys that Michael Beale paid money for, let's face it, he paid money for $4.5 million for Cyril Dessers and $3 million for Sam Lammers, and realistically, they've been absolutely awful. And I think part of the reason why Beale got sacked was because he couldn't get those two to work. He couldn't get a tune out of them, and I think if he had, and they'd scored goals, and he'd still be in work. Those two have obviously got to take a long, hard look at themselves. But I think as well with Danilo, it is too early to assess Danilo. I don't think he's had a fair crack of the whip yet, but. And in terms of Cyril Dessers, look, I have absolutely slaughtered Cyril Dessers, and I think, rightly so. The guy has been absolutely appalling. I would defy any Rangers fan to say anything positive about what he's done at the club so far. He has been absolutely appalling. Just one of the worst players I have ever seen in a Rangers shirt. Look, I'll tell you this: if he comes out on Saturday and scores a hat trick, if he goes on to get 20 goals this season, I will love it, because look. Just because I criticize players, because their performance has been poor, does not mean that I want them to always stay that way. I'd love them to prove me wrong, because if they prove me wrong, then that's good for the club. And what I want at the end of the day is this club to win things and this club to be successful, like all fans. Now, this £4.5 million price tag may be weighing a little bit heavy. And I know £4.5 million in the modern world of football is not a lot of money. I mean, especially when you talk about, English Premier League clubs, and sort of a standard transfer fee down there is around 20, 25, 30 million pounds for a player. And that's considered cheap down there. So 4.5 is realistically not a lot of money. Now, Philip Clement has obviously vowed to do all he can to get a tune out of players who've not impressed us yet. And he talked a little bit, didn't he, about the fact that some players had kind of gone out there and done the wrong thing in moments of pressure and kind of regressed in moments of pressure. And no more than I think Searle Dessers, if you go from the PSV game where he played that great ball for Rabbi Matondo, since that game he's kind of fallen off a cliff and completely disappeared. And the person who's playing up front is not a footballer. He just genuinely is not a footballer. But Clement is confident that he can get the best out of these players. He talked about the fact that in this squad he sees potential, he sees talent, he sees ability, and Clement is everything Beale isn't. He's an experienced manager. He's got a good CV. I think as well he's a man who doesn't suffer fools gladly. He will tell someone, call a spade when he needs to. He's talked about Searle Dessers and talked about getting the best out of him. He said that I will give him all the tools for that, and then it's about him doing it. That's the same for every player. We will give them the tools to get the best out of them. Then it's for the player to take it. I've seen this process before. That's why I say we need to give all possibilities for the players to step up and give you some surprises. I had it in Genk. I had two strikers there, Nikolaos Karelas, who was scoring all the time, and then there was Ali Samata, who didn't play because he never scored goals. Everyone said this guy never scores a goal, but we worked really hard with Ali, like with all the other players, and he took it. He became better, and after a few weeks, I put Ali in the team more and more, and he started to score goals. The next season, he was the top scorer in Belgium, and the season after that, he made a good transfer to Aston Villa. So we will invest in all the players to get the best out of them. Then it's up to them to take their chance and make the most of it. If you say already that they've succeeded before, then the potential is there. And I think, he is very clear, isn't he, in the fact that he wants to invest time in this squad. He wants to give this squad the best possible chance to actually succeed and go on to have success. And look, I know there's some people going to come out and say, oh, yeah, and you'll hate it if Searle Dessers actually scores goals and starts playing well. You'll hate that because it'll make you look silly. Well, look, at the end of the day, I'll be happy for him to prove me wrong, because we all change our opinions. We all change our views. You do too. And like I said, if he is playing well, if he is scoring goals, then it will be good for the club. And that's, at the end of the day, what we all want, what is best for Rangers. And we want players performing. We want players, scoring goals. We want players creating chances. And realistically, Philip Clement has to get the attack right. It's an area that, we've invested an awful lot of money in. You're talking, 6.5 for Danilo, 4.5 for Clement, 3 for Lammers. You're talking, best part of £14 million there. You've also got Kamar Roof there as well, Tom Lawrence, Todd Cantwell, who can play up there. So, it's something that we do need to actually address, and it's something we do need to very much get right, because at the end of the day, this is vital. If you get the attack right, if you get the forwards threatening, if you get the forwards playing well, it takes weight off the midfield, it takes weight off the defence. And this will also help the midfield to find space, the midfield to play. It'll also help, the defence to have less time under the cosh, or less opportunity to make those stupid mistakes they've made this season. So, look, at the end of the day, I want the best for all players, and I'm hopeful that Philip Clement can work miracles and can part the Red Sea or the Dead Sea or the Black Sea or the Green Sea or the Blue Sea or the Blue Sea of Ibrox, and get the best out of these players like Dessers, like Lammers, like Cifuentes, who has been underperforming this season, and do the best for the club. That's what we want at the end of the day. That's what we all want at the end of the day. Okay, let's talk a little bit about former Rangers player Neil McCann. Why Neil McCann? And we are also going to touch on that tool, Chris Sutton, and what he has had to say. He is another perler from Chris Sutton, another perler, wait for it. Anyway, Neil McCann. Well, now, a lot of people have talked about needing a Rangers man in the dressing room, about someone who can come in and kind of, be a guiding light, a advisory person, someone who can kind of, show Philip Clement, the way in terms of what is the Rangers way, and also, about understanding the club, understanding where the club has come from, etc., etc. Now, according to a number of media sources, it has been reported that Neil McCann is now tipped for a role under Philip Clement, because obviously the Belgian manager wants to get some local knowledge. He is, Philip Clement is a brilliant manager. I've got no doubts in that. You've got to look at the guy's track record to understand that. But by that very token, he doesn't have any understanding of Scottish football. And we all know that British football, Scottish football is quite unlike anything else. At this moment in time, we know that one definite member of the backroom staff is Stefan van der Heyden. But other than that, Clement has said it's very much an assessment process, looking at what we've got, looking at Davis and Ray and Gilmore and Smith and Colin Stewart and seeing what we've got there. But, Neil McCann is someone that a number of fans have kind of shouted out and said, I honestly think that there could be something in this, that Neil McCann could be someone that Rangers want to pay interest in. This guy is someone who understands the club. He's played for the club. He's been successful at the club. He's won trophies with the club. He is someone who I think, could really support Philippe Clement and help Clement to really understand what need and want is this club to be successful. We want the best possible people in place to help this club to be successful. If you bring in someone like Neil McCann, who, like I said, understands the club, knows the club, is a pundit, has talked, and has watched an awful lot of games, over this season as well with Rangers. He's kind of knows where we're coming from with this. He is, for me, a very good candidate. I would like to see him given an opportunity. Yes, there are others out there. Of course there are. Yes, he had that short managerial spell with Dundee back in 2017-2018 that didn't go well. But like I said, this guy played 113 games for the club, scored 19 goals with the club. Won the Scottish Premier League in 98, 99, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. Also won the Scottish Cup 4 times, Scottish League Cup twice. He knows what it is to win trophies. And the more people you have on your staff that know what it is to win trophies, know how to win trophies, that is a key thing for me. You look at Michael Beale and his staff, there was no one there that knew how to win trophies, especially not in Scotland. But, bringing in someone like Neil McCann would obviously give Rangers that understanding. And obviously, as well, like I said, really put that local body, that Rangers man, into that backroom staff, which I know a lot of Rangers fans have called for. Now, the other day, obviously, we know that Todd Cantwell took a shot at Chris Sutton when he said this to the Beautiful Game podcast. I love this quote. Like I said, I love Todd Cantwell, and he's got every right. I know he's had some criticism for saying it. People say, stay off social media, TikTok, Todd, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, Chris Sutton's basically called him a cheat, said he dives too easily, and called him TikTok Todd and all this. And has been quite really offensive towards him and looked a bit two-faced. So, I think Todd was within his rights to say, that, listen, the plan is definitely to be back after the international game. It's been as smooth as I would have liked it. There have been a few complications. That was that thing. And then he went on to talk about Chris Sutton, and he said that Chris Sutton is an attention seeker, and really called out Chris Sutton in that quote. Now Chris Sutton has continued his comeback at Todd Cantwell as the two continue their war of words. He said that Todd Cantwell doesn't respect Rangers, and the timing of his interview was all wrong. That was what Sutton has had to say, as he sort of wanted to get back at them. He went on to say, this is exactly what he said to the Daily Record. He said, Todd Cantwell either doesn't respect his Rangers teammates or he doesn't think. Which one is it? I couldn't care less, but I'm sure Philippe Clement, who looks worthy of real respect and has an impressive track record, would rather he concentrate on his football. Canwell left me almost lost for words. Almost, I could barely believe what I was hearing. The words, incredible. The timing, well, that almost beggars belief. I honestly don't know where he's going with all this. It's never his fault. It's like he's a victim. That's pretty rich coming from ex-Celtic player. It's just another look at me episode from a lad who is more known for what he does on TikTok than what he does on the pitch. The frustrating thing is that for someone who to date has had a bang average career, he doesn't have a high opinion of himself, and he goes on like that. Chris Sutton, you don't know what you're talking about. You genuinely do not know what you are talking about. You are talking utter pish as per usual. You know, Todd Canwell gets Rangers. Todd Canwell is one of us. If there's any player that does understand what it is to play for Rangers, does understand how the fans feel, particularly towards that lot from across the city, it is Todd Canwell. And for Chris Sutton to come out and say this, it just really kind of echoes what Todd Canwell has said on a number of occasions. Number one, he is an attention seeker. There we go. And number two, he's one of the worst pundits in Scottish football. Exactly. He is one of the worst pundits in Scottish football. Chris Sutton, who had a bang average career. Chris Sutton, you know, people say, oh, he won a golden boot. Yes, because he was playing with Alan Shearer, who took the majority of attention away from him. You know, he won the league with Blackburn. Yes, because he played with Alan Shearer. I think, you know, there's a lot of these so-called Celtic morons that genuinely don't know what Alan Shearer was in terms of his ability and his talent. And I mean, let's face it, Celtic fans don't understand football anyway because they are utterly clueless. But once again, Chris Sutton, you are an absolute tube. You really are an absolute tube. A typical Tim, really. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the stories we've covered today. So we'll continue to build up towards the Hibs game on Saturday. You know, people have talked about me predicting lineups, but look, I honestly can't genuinely say, you know, I think in the past you've kind of been able to kind of name what 8 out of the 11, 9 out of the 11, even the full 11 under Gio and under Michael Beale. But I genuinely think under Philip Clement, there is I don't know. I couldn't tell you how he's going to start. I couldn't tell you his formation. You know, he's played 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. He's played 4-2-3-1. He's played 4-4-2. He's played 3-5-2. He's played a lot of different formations, and he a lot of times will change formations to match the needs of the game to help the team to be successful. So, look, I can't predict what he's going to play on Saturday. I genuinely can't. I am very excited, obviously, to see what he's going to do, who he picks, and how he goes about it, and, you know, how we see this clean slate that all the players have with the new manager. Like I said, guys, if you enjoyed the content, please hit the sub, ring the notification bell, and on the way out, always 2 things I need you to do. Number 1, smash the like, and number 2, remember always, we are the people.